Get ready for a journey through the most controversial and intriguing story in the Bible. Did you know that behind the ancient figures of Jezebel, Ahab, and Athaliah, there are dark secrets and surprising revelations? In a deep dive, we'll uncover the mysteries behind these malevolent queens, showing how their actions challenge beliefs, shook empires, and shaped destinies. This is the story you can't miss. Stay with us until the end and prepare to be surprised. Let's now explore a fascinating topic: the most cunning and cruel queens portrayed in the Bible. Did you know that many of the corrupt kings mentioned in Scripture were linked to equally evil queens, who encouraged them to follow dark paths or even did evil in the name of their husbands? A striking example is Jezebel, the queen of Israel. Now, before we get into the details, it's important to understand the context. According to the precepts of the time, an Israelite should not enter into marriage with a pagan, a clear divine directive. However, King Ahab disregarded this warning and married Jezebel, a princess of Sidon and daughter of Ithabal, the king of the Sidonians. Jezebel was not an ordinary woman. She was shrewd, ambitious, and determined to pursue her own interests, even if it meant straying from the path of righteousness. She and Ahab formed a sinister alliance, driving the kingdom of Israel deeper into idolatry by establishing the predominant religion of Baal. The origin of Jezebel is also intriguing. She was the daughter of Ithabal, who was both priest and king, ruling over the Phoenician cities of Tyre and Sidon. Her name in Phoenician meant primrose, a delicate flower, but interestingly in Hebrew, the name Jezebel had a very different connotation: trash. This disparity gives us an interesting insight into how she was perceived at that time. In the Old Testament, Jezebel is portrayed as the influential wife of King Ahab, who ruled the kingdom of Israel at that time. The story of these two is a classic example of how power can corrupt, leading not just individuals but an entire nation to ruin. So here's a glimpse of the Bible's most sinister queens, with Jezebel leading the way as one of the most infamous. But this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the Bible's fascinating narratives. Who will come next on this journey through the dark side of history? Just diving deeper to find out. Ahab not only followed Jeroboam in idolatry, but also joined in marriage with Jezebel, who was the daughter of the king of the Sidonians. Both actions contributed to Ahab's reputation as one of the most wicked kings. According to the Book of Kings, Ahab was considered the worst of all kings, capable of causing enormous devastation during his 22 years of rule. And this is the man Jezebel married. It is clear that Jezebel used Ahab as an instrument to achieve her nefarious goals, and he did not need much encouragement. It was the first time that a king of Israel had allied himself through marriage with a pagan princess. Jezebel was a devotee of Baal and decided to replace the worship of the Lord God with the satanic cult of Baal. In the book of 1 Kings 18:19, we see Jezebel influencing the practice of Baal worship. "Now therefore send and gather unto me all Israel under Mount Carmel, and the prophets of Baal 450, and the prophets of the woods 400, who eat at Jezebel's table." During Ahab's reign, the practice of Baal worship became widespread in Israel, and even Judah was affected. Different regions worshipped Baal in varying ways, showing his adaptability as a universal deity. Sculptures of Baal depict him with a helmet adorned with bull horns, symbolizing strength and fertility, and holding a club or mace in one hand, representing thunder, and a spear adorned with leaves in the other, possibly symbolizing lightning and vegetation. After the wedding, Jezebel managed to convince Ahab to adopt the worship of Baal. She was a woman hungry for more power and was determined to silence anyone who dared challenge her authority. She was not guided by principles and cared neither for God nor for men, being fervent in her commitment to the pagan cult she practiced. She spared no effort to maintain idolatry in all its splendor around her. Her actions were extremely damaging to the kingdom of Israel and Judah. Kings chapter 21 describes the events that led to the deaths of Jezebel and Ahab. Few couples in the Bible are as repulsive to look at as King Ahab and Queen Jezebel. At the end of 1 Kings, we are confronted with his obscene and disgusting crime. Lacking charismatic leadership, they resorted to deception, selfishness, and cunning to achieve their goals. The incident occurred in Jezreel, where Ahab and Jezebel had a palace. Next to the palace was a vineyard belonging to Naboth the Jezreelite. Ahab wanted to take possession of the vineyard to transform it into a garden. However, Naboth refused to sell or exchange his land, as the law of Israel stated that the property should remain in the family to which it was originally allocated. Numbers 36:7 Amplified Bible. When Jezebel found her husband irritated and sullen because of Naboth's refusal to sell his vineyard, she assured Ahab that the vineyard would soon be his. In 1 Kings 21:8-16, it is reported how she acted. Jezebel wrote letters in Ahab's name, sealed them with her own seal, and sent them to the elders and nobles who lived in the city of Naboth. In the letters she ordered, "Proclaim a fast and place Naboth at the head of the people. Sit 2 worthless and unprincipled men in front of you, and make them testify against him, saying, 'You have cursed God and the king.' Then take him outside the city and stone him to death." The men of the city followed Jezebel's orders as described in the letters. They proclaimed a fast, placed Naboth at the head of the people, and 2 wicked men testified against him, falsely accusing him of blasphemy. Naboth was then stoned to death, as Jezebel had ordered. Upon receiving news of Naboth's death, Jezebel informed Ahab that he could take possession of the vineyard now that the obstacle was removed. Ahab promptly headed to Naboth's vineyard to claim it. Jezebel, with her cunning nature, manipulated the situation to make it appear that Naboth was being executed for violating God's law. She also ordered the death of Naboth's sons, anticipating that upon their father's death, the inheritance would pass to them. Her cunning in perpetrating her evil plans was remarkable. Later, Elijah confronted Ahab as he headed to the vineyard and pronounced judgment against him for murder and robbery. Elijah prophesied that Ahab would be killed, that Jezebel's body would be devoured by dogs in Jezreel, and that Ahab's descendants would not receive a dignified burial. The severity of Ahab's punishment can be understood by considering the depths to which he sank in his pursuit of idolatry. The Bible states that there was never anyone like Ahab who sold himself to do evil. After learning of his imminent destruction, he humbled himself before the Lord in repentance. In response to this, the Lord issued a decree that judgments on Ahab's wife and children would only occur after his death. Jezebel, being the evil person that she was, spared no effort in persecuting God's prophets. She killed them and chased after Elijah, trying to take her life. When Ahab told Jezebel about Elijah's deeds, she sent a messenger to Elijah threatening his life. This caused Elijah to flee in fear, asking God to take his life. Elijah's death happened according to prophecy. A few years later, Ahab was killed in a battle against the Syrians. Jezebel continued to rule for nearly 10 years after Ahab's death. Elisha, Elijah's successor, resumed his mission to end Baal worship, installing Jehu as king of Israel. Jehu, a military commander, unleashed a civil war against Jehoram, son of Ahab and Jezebel. In historical records, Jezebel is remembered as the personification of evil, being cunning, sneaky, vengeful, and cruel. When Jehu entered Jezreel, it was consumed by dogs, according to Elijah's word, after the incident involving Naboth and his property. This tragedy was a direct consequence of the evil committed by her and her husband, Ahab. The name Jezebel came to be used as a synonym for an evil woman. In Revelation 2:20, it is mentioned, "Yet I have this against you. You tolerate that woman Jezebel, who calls herself a prophetess. With her teachings she deceives my servants into sexual immorality. and the consumption of food sacrificed to idols. Now, if you think Jezebel was the worst, let me introduce you to her daughter. Secondly, we have Athaliah, queen of Judah. Athaliah was the daughter of Ahab, king of Israel, and married Jehoram, son of Jehoshaphat. She proved to be just as evil as her mother, Queen Jezebel, her father, King Ahab, and her brothers, King Ahaziah and King Jehoram. Athaliah, whose name means afflicted by God, reigned as Queen of Judah between the years 841 and 835 BC, sitting on the throne of King David. Athaliah's reign was marked by centuries of wicked rulers in Judah and Israel. She was an ardent follower of Baal, as wicked as the monarchs before and after her. Athaliah's husband, Jehoram, reigned as king of Judah until his death in 841 BC. Unlike his father, Jehoram was a wicked king. His son, Ahaziah, ascended the throne at age 22 and followed in his father's footsteps. Athaliah guided her son in his evil plans, as mentioned in 2 Chronicles 22:3. He also walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother was his counselor, and she encouraged him to act wickedly. Ahaziah served as king of Judah for less than a year before being murdered along with King Joram of Israel. Their murderer was Jehu, who was previously commander of King Ahab's army. As described in 2 Kings 9:25, "Then Jehu said to Bidkar his officer, 'Take him and throw him into the field possession of Naboth the Jezreelite, for I remember when you and I were riding together after father him Ahab, that the Lord has spoken this prophecy against him.'" Jehu was anointed as the new king of Israel by the prophet Elisha, who commissioned him as the Lord's instrument to carry out the punishment that God had pronounced against King Ahab and his entire family due to his idolatry. As part of his goal to end the dynasty established by Ahab, Jehu executed Jezebel and her children. It happened that Ahaziah, son of Joram, was visiting Joram when Jehu arrived to carry out the conspiracy to kill Joram. As a result, Ahaziah also lost his life. When Athaliah, Ahaziah's mother, saw that her son was dead, she began to destroy the entire royal family of the house of Judah. However, Jesheba, daughter of King Jehoram, saved Joash, son of Ahaziah, from the royal princes who were about to be murdered. She hid him and his nurse in a room in God's temple for 6 years while Athaliah ruled the land. Athaliah, who had already lost her husband and son, executed her own grandchildren in a brutal massacre of the royal family. Satan was behind this savage massacre, trying to sever the messianic bloodline. Jehovah, however, induced Jesheba to hide her nephew Joash, as the promise in Genesis 3:15 guaranteed the preservation of the line through which the Lord Jesus would eventually come. Her husband Jehoiada, who was a priest, took care of Joash for the next 6 years while he was hidden in the temple. A single grandson escaped the massacre without Athaliah's knowledge. I hope this version meets your expectations. If you need anything else or want additional adjustments, I'm at your disposal. Just like her mother, Athaliah worshipped the god known as Baal. During the reign of Ahab and Jezebel, at the height of Baal worship in Israel, God directly confronted paganism through his prophet Elijah. First, God showed that he, not Baal, controlled the rain, sending a drought that lasted 3.5 years. Baal was the name of the god worshipped throughout Canaan and Phoenicia in ancient times. During the period of the Judges, the practice of Baal worship entered Jewish religious life. After Athaliah had reigned for 6 years, the high priest Jehoiada posted guards around the temple and publicly crowned young Joash as the proper king. When the new king was anointed, the people clapped their hands and shouted, "Long live the king!" When Athaliah heard the noise of people running and applauding the king, she went to the temple of the Lord. She saw the king standing at her column at the entrance. The officials, the trumpeters, and all the people of the land were rejoicing and blowing trumpets, while musicians with their instruments led the praises. Then Athaliah tore her clothes and shouted, "Treason! Treason!" Queen Athaliah came to the people in the temple to investigate the cheering and shouting, only to find a rival child she thought long dead now wearing a royal crown. But what must have alarmed her even more was the realization that people were solidly behind him. No one heard his accusation of treason. After all, she was the usurper, not Joash. Jehoiada ordered her to be killed, but not just inside the temple. She was taken to the horse gate, where she was killed for her atrocities in Judah. Some people rise to positions of authority because of their passion for their cause and their sense of duty. Others want leadership positions for no other reason than to achieve power over others and enjoy the arrogant feeling that comes with being in a position of superiority. In most situations, figuring out what kind of leader you have won't take long. Athaliah, as soon as she learned that Jehu had taken the life of her son, King Ahaziah, rose up and destroyed all the royal heirs of the house of Judah, including all her grandchildren. She was unable to kill Joash, her only son left alive, because a devout young woman named Jehoshaphat hid him in God's temple for a period of 6 years, allowing him to escape her murderous rampage. The acts that God promised his people, that the Messiah would come through the royal lineage of David, made absolutely no difference to Athaliah. This is a picture of a leader so power-hungry that she would do anything to achieve and maintain her illegitimate title, including murdering her own relatives. Athaliah ruled Judah for 7 years. In the end, the people violently removed her from power. Queen Athaliah is an extreme example of a leader motivated not by love, but by power, prestige, and position. Number 3, Herodias, Queen of Galilee. Herodias is known as an evil queen, and the fact that she was responsible for the execution of John the Baptist will ensure that she is never forgotten. In the Bible, she is called the wife of Philip, who is also the brother of Herod the Tetrarch. Despite this, Herod the Tetrarch, also known as Herod Antipas, married her in violation of the law, while her brother Philip was still alive. John the Baptist had the audacity to preach against this adultery, and Herodias was so furious with John the Baptist that she even wanted him to be put to death. She convinced Herod Antipas to arrest John and throw him in prison, which Herod did as a result of her efforts. In fact, she wanted John to be sentenced to death. However, Herod Antipas hesitated to carry out such a plan because he feared the reaction of the people and also because he believed that John was a virtuous man. At one point, Herod celebrated his birthday by organizing a party, and during the celebration, Herodias' daughter entered, danced, and enchanted both Herod and the guests who were with him. Herod made a hasty promise in the form of an oath that he would grant her any request she might have. Mark 6:17-28, Amplified Bible. For Herod himself sent guards and had John arrested and shackled in prison because of Herodias, the wife of his half-brother Philip, because he, Herod, had married her. For John was saying to Herod, "It is not lawful under the Mosaic law for you to have your brother's wife." Herodias had a grudge against John and wanted to kill him, but she could not, because Herod feared John, knowing that he was a righteous and holy man, and he continually kept him safe. When he heard John speak, he was very perplexed. But he liked to hear it, but at last an opportune moment came for Herodias. Herod, on his birthday, gave a banquet for his officials, nobles, courtiers, and military commanders, and the leading men of Galilee. Now Salome, daughter of Herodias, came in and danced for the men. She pleased and deceived Herod, and his invited for dinner. And the king said to the girl, "Ask me whatever you want, and I will give it to you." And he swore to her, "Whatever you ask me, I will give you up to half of my kingdom." She went out and said to his mother, "What shall I ask?" And Herodias answered, "The head of John the Baptist." And she ran back to the king and asked, saying, "I want you to give me the head of John the Baptist right now, on a platter." The king was deeply saddened, but because of his oaths and his dinner guests, who might consider him weak, he was not willing to break his word and refuse her. Then the king immediately sent for an executioner and ordered him to bring back John's head. And he went and had John beheaded in prison, and brought back the head on a platter, and gave it to the girl, and the girl gave it to her mother. Incredible, isn't it? The story of these queens and their intrigues leave us open-mouthed and thirsty for more knowledge. But don't worry, because here on our channel, you will always find intriguing and engaging content like this. If you liked what you saw and want to continue being surprised by fascinating stories, be sure to subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell, and share with your friends and family. Share your opinions in the comments below and help us grow together on this journey of discovery. Thank you for being part of our community, and see you in the next video, where we will continue exploring the mysteries that shape the world as we know it. See you later.